Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. The projections are going up with regard to COLA for 2025. Now, granted, the data that comes out now, the CPI data on a monthly basis, is not the actual data that's going to be used because they use the last 3 months of the fiscal year. So that's July, August, and September CPI numbers, CPIW to be specific, to calculate the COLA. However, the CPI data that comes out now is an indicator of what may come. And usually these projections end up getting pretty close, and the closer we get to those final months, the closer the projections will be. Now, I found an article here that talks about a new projection based on the new data that's driving the COLA higher. So this is great news for us, because what happens is, as prices go up, we need to catch up, at least, and I already get it. Look, it's never enough, right? We're always kind of shortchanged, if you will. But any increase is better than no increase, and a higher increase is better than a lower increase in the bottom line of things. With all that said, I want to jump into the article and share some information on what's coming out with you. So please hit the thumbs up, subscribe, share with a friend, all that good stuff. I truly appreciate it. Really does help the channel, helps get the word out. The two asks are hit the thumbs up and let the video run, because that is what pushes this information out. If you want to support the channel in other ways, please consider being a member. You can do that by going to the homepage. You'll see highlighted members, and you'll see a join button. And the last thing I did, for those that don't know, I created a second channel, a co-hosted channel, where we have some dialogue going back and forth on various topics concerning veterans, spouses, dependents, and so forth. That is called Veterans Daily. Please check that out. All right, so let's jump into this. First, I'm on the MOA COLA Watch website. I like this one just to get kind of the nuts and bolts of it, but then I have an article I'm going to jump into. So first, on MOA COLA Watch, I'll read you actually what it says. So it says, welcome to MOA's COLA page, where you'll find a monthly update on inflation figures used to set the cost of living adjustment, COLA, for payments received by military retirees, disabled veterans, Social Security beneficiaries, and many other receiving federal compensation. The latest, which here we are today in March, the February 2024 COLA price index for urban wage earners, so that's the CPIW, urban wage earners and clerical workers, so CPIW, released March 12th, which was yesterday, was 304.284, 1% above the fiscal year 2024 baseline of 301.236. March 2024 figures will be announced April 10th. So again, these things come out every single month. And again, it has a little disclaimer here. The CPIW figures from the end of the fiscal year, July, August, and September 2024, will be compared to the fiscal year 2024 COLA baseline to calculate the 2025 COLA. So again, remember that it's that last chunk, the 3 months, July, August, September of this year, which will be here before you know it, that are actually used to calculate the COLA. So the September numbers are released mid-October, and usually right at that same kind of time frame, they announce the COLA as well. All right, so stick with me here, because I'm going to shift over to the article here and give you the projection. And the headline here is pretty good. I'm trying to pull up the headline. Social Security 2025 COLA is what it starts off with, and it keeps popping up an ad. 2025 COLA estimate is higher than you think. So let's jump into this and move on. So the Senior Citizens League, which is a huge advocate for all this stuff, primarily focused obviously on Social Security, but by default you can plug in veterans there because of our disabled compensation disability, right? So the Senior Citizens League estimates the Social Security cost of living adjustment, or COLA, for 2025 is likely to be much higher than what was anticipated last month. Now, I'm going to tell you again that it works with the CPIW. There have been pieces of legislation introduced on both sides to use a different indice, utilizing the CPIE, which is the the consumer price index for elderly because the spending habits and so forth are different, and that would warrant a even higher COLA. So if you support something like that, you want to reach out to your congressional leadership and let them know, your elected officials, and let them know that you think that COLA should be calculated differently. I know that the Senior Citizen League believes that because it's always a little bit behind the actual inflation, and the gap is actually getting bigger and bigger as the years go on. All right, so moving back into this, the Senior Citizens League estimates the Social Security cost of living adjustment for 2025 is likely to be 2.4% based on the latest consumer price index data released Tuesday. Which was yesterday. The 2024 cost of living adjustment for Social Security beneficiaries was 3.2%. The February consumer price index for urban wage earners and clerical workers rose 3.1% from 13 months ago. That's higher than inflation trends indicated last month based on January's inflation data, according to the advocacy group. As a result, the league's 2025 COLA projection has jumped from 1.75% again to the 2.4%. So that's a big jump in 1 month's worth of data. And they're pretty spot on, by the way. So let's move on here. The league's 2024 senior survey, 73% of respondents said their household costs rose by more than 3.2% in 2023. 38% were worried that their 2024 COLA would fall short of inflation this year. The group cautions that the final COLA for 2025 is likely to be different from estimates because the COLA is calculated on the average rate of inflation during the third quarter of the calendar year or the fourth quarter of the fiscal year, just depending, which is compared against the third quarter a year ago. Moving on here, it says February inflation highlights. As reported by the BLS, the Consumer Price Index for all urban consumers, a measure of inflation that is broader than the CPIW, increased 0.4% in February on a seasonally adjusted basis. After rising 0.3% in January over the last 12 months, all items index increased 3.2% before seasonal adjustment. The index for shelter rose in February, as did the index for gasoline. Combined, these two indices contributed to 60% of the monthly increase in the index for all items. The energy index rose 2.3% over the month as all of its component indexes increased. The food index was unchanged in February, as I don't feel like it was, but whatever. So it was unchanged in February, as was the food at home index. The food away from home index rose 0.1% over the month. The index for all items less food and energy rose 0.4% in February, as did in January. Indexes which increased in February include shelter, airline fares, motor vehicle insurance, apparel, and recreation. The index for personal care and the index for household furnishings and operations were among those that decreased over the month. And with that, we'll go ahead and conclude it there. Just wanted to bring you up to date with what's going on with COLA and COLA projections for 2025. Huge increase projected compared to a month before. So we'll see what happens as the trends continue. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.